He's a man on the worst run of his managerial career in terms of 6 matches winless. He seems to be saying, not much we can do about it. Move on.
Well, what he's saying there is it's the quality I've got. I don't think I can get much more out of them, and that's where we are at this moment in time. And
is that fair? Can you absolve him of blame given the circumstances?
No. A manager will always get it in the neck, Tommy, and that's the way of the business. I don't think he inherited a great squad. I expect them to be doing a lot better than they are right now. He'd be majorly disappointed what he's getting from players that he would have thought, from the outside looking in, were decent. And for me as well, I think any of the guys looking at that squad, you're thinking he'll go in there, be more pragmatic. They won't be a great watch, but you know they'll dig out results and they'll possibly finish in the top 4. But looking at them in the last few weeks, I've been country mile off that. There's no spark to them. In the big picture, to put it right, 2 things: you need time and a lot of money. And I would say the biggest problem they're going to have in the short term, and I mean the short term, Harry Kane sitting at home looking at that tonight, I'll be going, I'm in the prime of my career. I want to be winning this competition and the Premier League. Do I hang around here and hope and have everything crossed that we'll get it right quickly, or do I get on my bike and go somewhere where I'm going to win things? And I think the second will be his choice.
Do you think?
I think the biggest target, or the biggest problem they've got in the short term, apart from getting better players in and finding money to do that, is holding on to Harry Kane. He will be at home deeply worried about the future of Spurs looking at that group of players.
What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I can't disagree with that in relation to Harry Kane. I can imagine him sat at home thinking about the position that Spurs were in a couple of years ago, and we were all optimistic about Spurs' propositions going forward. We still had that thought within we discussed it so often about, would the wages issue be a problem for a lot of these Spurs players? Would Spurs be able to keep hold of a lot of the players? It's proved that that dressing room wasn't in harmony with what the club were saying outwardly. And I think in general, Harry Kane is the prime player within that squad, and I could see him maybe having to make a decision this summer, because I don't see Spurs recruiting 5 or 6 players that's going to dramatically change that or turn that team around and that squad around. I really don't see that.
It feels like a bit of a mess, really, Brian, in terms of, as the lads have said, where they were a couple of years ago. And it was always, when would they actually win trophies to go with all the good play and all the progress they made? And it feels like they're a long way away from that now.
Well, they are. I mean, they got the Champions League final last year. They were fortunate to do that, the way they beat Ajax, the way they beat Manchester City. They got a lucky call on the VAR late on the Manchester City game. But prior to that, they had beaten Dortmund very, very easy, a prominent German team, both home and away, and looked well better than a team not far off the top of the German league. But tonight, they were outplayed once again, home and away, by a team who are kind of making their way to a degree in German football. So they are short. You look around the team and say, what part of the team is good? And I've said this several times in recent weeks. What part of the team would you say is in good shape? The 3 goalkeepers have been disastrous. They've all made errors, serious errors that have cost them in games recently. All 3 of them. None of the defensive players look like you'd say he's in great shape. Alderweireld is he's 31, his time is moving on. He's been the best of them. Vertonghen has passed it. Sanchez hasn't risen to the status that people thought he might. And the rest of them are just hit and miss. Lamela, Moura, Ali has deteriorated so badly. Winks has gone back from where I thought he was going to be a bit of a player with the right balance when he played with Dembele at times and Sissoko on the outside. Now, they've got worse. Sessegnon hasn't progressed at all since they signed him from Fulham. Lo Celso has looked like bits and pieces.
But could you just get back to the
so
first...
the Kane, you could say the Kane son bit scores goals. And
that's been covering maybe
problems
elsewhere.
That's a fact. It has been like that for a couple. Goals change everything at a football club. You know, games that you shouldn't win, you end up winning because you've got an out-and-out goal scorer. You get your draws that you shouldn't get a draw in. And there's no doubt about it, with Harry Kane and Son back in the team, everybody will get a lift. You're scoring goals, you're on the front foot. the difference, Tommy, to a lot of players, I'd say the majority of players, when you're on the pitch and it's not going well, and some people, and I played in a team where it was full of serial winners, but there was a season when it wasn't going well, and some of them weren't wanting the ball when they should have been. Some of them were just not making that, you know, that angle. Anyway, we managed to turn that around, but a lot of players hide when it's not going well. And then if you're scoring goals and there's that confidence within the stadium that you're playing, your supporters are with you now, all of a sudden they become better players and they start popping it off 1 and 2 touch instead of taking 3 and 4. And right now, Liverpool, they're not. Tottenham are in a very, very bad place. They sorely need the 2 strikers back, but that ain't going to solve all the problems.
That's a lack of leadership on the park, is it?
It's lack of quality.
Yeah.
It's lack of real men.
Just go back to the original point then. I mean, we see Jose Mourinho there downplaying expectations, injuries. We're going, you know, look, it's a struggle. I'm not going to criticise the lads, etc. But is he getting the best out of it? Like Graeme said when he came, he would have looked at the squad and said, oh, this is a decent squad, I'm going to do something with this. Like, OK, apart from all the other problems that you've talked about, should he not be getting better than what we saw tonight out of them?
Well, what I'd feel is from a defensive structure, and I'm talking from back to front, the side looks unbalanced, it doesn't look right defensively. Remember, again, we were talking about probably the best centre-half partnership in the Premier League, or certainly in English football 2 years ago with Alderweireld and Vertonghen. We were talking about one of the best goalkeepers, Lloris. The way that those three have fallen off, maybe Alderweireld, maybe you give him an exception, but Vertonghen's way off, Lloris is way off. And then you're talking Serge Aurier, they've replaced Trippier with him, way off. So you're looking at the defensive structure of that side being poor. You're looking at Harry Winks in front of them, offers little or no protection. He's tidy on the ball, that's it. Offers nothing going forward because he doesn't actually take or he's not a risk taker with his passing. So, you know, Moussa Dembele, Wanyama, these are better players than what Spurs have got. So any one of the players we were talking about a couple of years ago that have left the club, even Eriksen, they've not replaced them with sufficient quality, and they're way behind the position they were 2 years ago.
I think the question is, do the goals of Harry Kane and Son coming back make these players that much better? And then the next question is, will Harry Kane stay? If he doesn't...
But sorry, the question is Jose Mourinho the right man?
Well, that's
the next question.
Yeah, in answer to that question, I don't think he's getting the best out of this squad, because I think that we would always... Yeah, I'll take the point is that they're not of the quality that they were, but Mourinho's biggest skill was always a structure of his side and being hard to beat. Tottenham are not hard to beat now. They're so easily got at, and they concede so many chances in games.
One of his skills was also communication. And he hasn't communicated very well. He's been talking about needing the season to be over from 3 months ago. You can't talk like that when you're still in some competitions. You've got to give the supporters and the players hope that you can make something decent out of the season. But the Norwich one for me was that was a catastrophe to lose to Norwich in the way they did. For him to pick the third choice keeper who hadn't played a game in 2 years and lose the match, it ends up going to penalties. They had a bit of a go, but there's so many problems. But his communication has been poor, moaning about not having the centre forwards. I don't think he's done a good job, but he will get a bit of time to try and straighten her out in the next week.